Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. আজকের বিষয় হলো চসার্সের লেখা famous poem Wife of Bath. Crocodilian humor, a discussion of Chaucer's Wife of Bath by David S. Wade. It is odd that many have found the wife of Bath lifelike. If she is, it is not in a way that those who see her as a marvel of naturalistic invention would accept. In common sense of human terms, she is absurd and grotesque, a figment of that anti-feminist gallimaufry, the prologue of her tale, that many take her as a triumph of Chaucer's mellow and human art tells us more about the place of women in our tradition than about the words before us. True, Chaucer was civilized. He shared the enjoyment of his courtly humanist civilization in baiting women and the middle classes, but we are middle class. Even if we think the middle classes ought to be baited and women are not to be baited, really, for their place has changed. In short, our idea of civilization is different, and different from Chaucer's. So it can hardly be that those who talk of the mellowness and humanity that went into the wife really mean they wholeheartedly enjoy Chaucer's karmat only and old-fashioned humor. Or if they do, they are less misunderstanding Chaucer. And we have other ways as well, for our different ethos has not given us a detached view of the real nature of the wife's comedy. It has made her an embarrassment so that, fearing for Chaucer's good name, we misunderstand her elaborately. Here are two ways of taking the wife, both to my mind, ways of mistaking her. The first is Walter C. Curry's. Though one may not be entirely prepared to accept the opinion that she is one of the most amazing characters the brain of man has ever conceived. Still, she is so vividly feminine and human, so coarse and shameless in her discussion of the marital relations with her five husbands, and yet so imaginative and delicate in her storytelling that one is fascinated against his will and beset with an irresistible impulse to analyze her dual personality with the view of locating, if possible, define definite causes for the coexistence of more incongruent elements than are ordinarily found in human beings. Chaucer and the Medieval Sciences, second edition, New York, 1960, page 91. Although I disagree with Professor Curry on the wife's character, I have found his information most helpful for my discussion of the wife as a type figure. The Chaucer Review, Volume 4, Number 2, published by the Pennsylvania State University Press, University Park, and London. The second is Bernard F. Hoppes. In the wife's prologue, Chaucer has constructed a subtle, dramatic monologue which presents not only a woman of such reality that time has not withered her, but also a frame of judgment, stern as it is sympathetic. The comedy of the wife's self-portrait has an underlying pathos because the reader understands, as she does not, that the vigor of her apology covers and contains the delusion which makes her life an empty lie. Clearly, the attitudes of the two critics differ. One dallies with her, the other censures, but both agree in granting her character implicity Implicitly, at least, the elusive literary status of individuality for the first in appreciating her complex vitality must pretend to entertain her in her own right, and the reproaches of the second require a moral agent. However, to speak of a character having the pathos of individuality suits the case of one, like Cresside in a tragedy or like Cavalcante in Hell. Accordingly, Curry is led to suggest Chaucer might have considered the wife his most tragic figure, and happy to see her unregenerate nature conformed on the way of damnation. But tragic or infernal subjectivity seem out of the question to me. I shall take the wife as a stock figure in a varied sort of pantomime. I have no better word, and so far, attitude or judgment. I shall not venture beyond the stock response such a figure and such comedy call for. This approach probably misses a lot, and it can scarcely be novel. I follow it to insist that what seems curiously antique, outworn, childish even is the essence of the wife's humor. The wife is a stock figure and absurdity if, as neither Curry nor Hoopy are, we were consistent and true in our attempt to see the wife in terms of higher modes of fiction. She would appear a monstrosity, but she belongs to low comedy or to pantomime, and within those modes she is lifelike. Here it is hard to speak of verisimilitude. What gives her life is the liveliness of pantomime. The stock figure of the wife and the burlesque comedy of her prologue and tale, the masquerade of the world and on pilgrimage in which these are set. The narrator as impresario or master of ceremonies, all this conspire in a vivid illusion or invite our make believe. In terms of pantomime, a figure like the wife owes her liveliness to her being a stock absurdity simply because they are stock figures. The pilgrims the pilgrims have a perennial vitality and always seem lifelike. As Dryden put it in his preface to the fables, either general characters are still remaining in mankind and even in England, though they are called by other names than those of monks and friars and canons and lady abbesses and nuns, for mankind is ever the same, and nothing lost out of nature, though everything is altered. Certainly, this seems true of comic mankind. Dryden is, of course, praising Chaucer's comprehensive soul, if yet it sounds almost as if he were talking of the shuffling of a pack of cards, nor is this accidental. Probably its character has to be drawn from a highly conservative pack or stock to be recognizably comic. One finds the same figures in Johnson's comedy of recognizably comic. One finds the same figures in Johnson's comedy of humors and in Anthony Powell's social comedy. Even tricks are stock, like Chaucer's wife Byron's Donna, Julia, caught by her husband, with the tried overwhelms him with a tirade he has not had time to utter, and shames him with his jealous suspicions of the truth. However, the wife's vitality is not simply a matter of jokes and comic figures. Having long lives, her absurdity works upon us to make her seem real. Outside fiction, when we call someone a real character, it is a type of we recognize, humorous, and rather a card simply because typical. Such people may in fact strike us as unreal because they make play of the normal and everyday, so that we do not know whether to call them larger than life or smaller. but their very unreality makes them lively. It inveigles us into playing up to them, conspiring with them to make them real and lifelike. They are animated by the game we play with them. It inveigles us into playing off to them, conspiring with them to make them real and lifelike. They are animated by the game we play with them, though we may indeed feel their life is a hoax like that of the bladders of wine, Apuleius, slave for thieves. Similarly, in fiction, what lends such cartoon figures as the wife their vitality is our willingness to play with them and be taken in by them, whether demonic or genial. It is their distortion or oddity or exaggeration lays hold of us and makes us recognize them and endow them with life. The wife is not a demonic figure. What is unnatural about her binds us altogether in witness to her common humanity. Perhaps it is that a long comic tradition has given her standing in the rude and archaic folk sense of reality. At any rate, she is a genuine humor. Because we are involved in a comic displacement of the response she elicits from us is equivocal, and the question of how to take her becomes rather crocodilian. On the one hand, we enjoy her jolly, hearty nature. On the other, we know her to be like Falstaff and Long John Silver, common and villainous. And yet, just because she is low and cunning, we find her jolly and call her human. She gains sympathy as heartless as herself. She appeals to the miller, summoner, and pardoner in us. So we like to hear of jealous old men tormented by a lively girl like her. But it also pleases us to see her done and in tongue by eight and nearly beaten at her own game by her last two husbands. At the same time, we are delighted to see her get off with it triumphantly. Okay, that's end here.